If you are a jailbreaker, do not update to iOS 7.1 as Apple credited all the jailbreakers for their effort to make iPhone safer. I'll include the link in the description if you want to take a read. So let's go ahead and see what's inside. Look, the animation is a lot better. As you can see, it fades as I try to slide it. We'll start with some minor changes to the iOS 7.1. Among these changes are the changes to the Photos application. The contrast is much darker. The greens look much more darker than it looked on iOS 7.0.6. Another simpler change is the notification center in the iOS 7.1. The no notifications is now bolder and much more whiter and sets itself separate from the notification drop down menu. So is the missed calls notifications. If you get in notifications, it won't come here, but this is much more bolder. A few more tweaks to the camera of the iOS 7.1. As you can see, auto and photo have the same color of yellow if they are active. If they are off, then it will come normal white background. Let's turn on HDR. HDR is also now yellow. So now next up is the major changes to iOS 7.1. Let's start with the phone application. Let's go ahead into dialer. As you can see, everything is now round. If you type a number, if you don't have already saved the number, then add to contacts now appear in the left top corner here. In previous versions of iOS 7, it used to appear beneath the number you type. So you can go easily you can tap easily on the plus button and create a new contact. The buttons have much more wider outlines and they are not as well lit as they were in 7.0.6. It is not much readable in very heavy light conditions. Now if you hold on to the power button, the slide to power off animation is now much more different. It used to be a slider, now it's a circular size slider. As I turn off the slider, the screen also dims. You can just tap to cancel it. Let's go ahead into settings and see that the passcode is now outside of the general accessibility folder. You can easily turn on passcode, type your new passcode and set it as your passcode. Or if you have an iPhone 5s, you can use your Touch ID. Let's go into general and accessibility. Now there are plenty of changes in the accessibility of settings. As you can see, larger text, it allows you to turn on the ability of having larger text sizes that are supported by the applications that might change the sizes of the text that appear. You can turn it off again. And if you notice that my toggle button has either 1 or 0, that's because of the on-off labels here. They tell you that 1 means it's on or 0 means it's off. So turn it on so that you can see it on every button there is. Now the next thing you see is here, button shapes. The general button has a left arrow on the left side of the text. Now many people get confused on where to tap to access the general settings. So let's turn on button shapes. This shows you the area that you can tap on that is highlighted in darker gray around the text to use that button. This stretches along the 7.1. As you can see, messages have now much more darker tone to it. Now next up is the bold text. Let's go ahead and apply this to the iPhone. Applying this will reboot your iOS device. It will ask you for confirmation, but once it's done, the text will be much more bolder than it was before. As you can see, airplane mode, all the text that's into the settings is now much more bolder than it was before. Let's turn it off back and turn off the button shapes. Yeah, now LED flashes is now built into the iOS 7.1. If you want any alerts, if you want to be alerted, all you see is a flash on the back of your iPhone indicating that you have certain notifications. I'm not sure if this was in iOS 7.0.6. Let me know in the comments. Now another great new feature is the subtitles and captioning of certain videos. It provides subtitles to the video. Subtitles and captioning helps you to read while in a video. As you can see, something like this will show up on your screen. The text size can be large or a classic look or a new custom one if you want. You can choose any fonts. There are quite a few. You can choose the color of the fonts and the opacity of the fonts. iOS 7 lets you choose the contrast for the iOS 7.1 experience you want, as customized as it can be. You can reduce the transparency. As you can see, the notification center is much more darker than it was. Also, the dock and the folders applications are now highlighted in some kind of grayish brown texture. Colors can be darkened. Notice how the accessibility button changes. You will be able to see it much clearly while experiencing it. Now, this white point reduces the white points on your display that enables you to read much easily. What it does is reduce the white point and makes the screen look much yellowish, at least to me. One big change to the iOS 7.1 is the switch control. Mind you, do not turn this on because you'll have a hard time turning back it off. So let's see what this is about. It lets you use your iPhone by highlighting some items on the screen. Now, once you turn it on, you can tap on any of these that is highlighted, and this cursor moves to every options that you have. Basically what it does is, instead of doing some gestures, it will give you options. All you have to do is tap. I want to know how many of you switched on the switch control. It might give you a very hard time if you don't understand how to tackle with it. A few more changes for the iOS 7.1 calendars application. This little tiny button here before the magnifying glass you see, that lets you toggle for a monthly events view. Before it used to be only for days. For a particular day you can see the events. Now by tapping that button you can see it for the entire month. Now another thing in the accessibility menu is the reduce motion buttons that enables you to kill the parallax effect. There is no parallaxing effect right now. I'm not sure if you can see it, but yeah, this is now working. Now wallpapers can now be assigned, and if you are fed up like all of us that zooms on to the wallpaper by default, you can turn it off. This something called as perspective zoom that zooms onto the image by default. Now you can turn it off by turning it off, or you can turn it on. Now what this does, let's see. Now as you can see, even though I have the parallax effect on, it doesn't reflect in my lock screen. So if you don't want your lock screen to zoom in by default, this could be a better choice for you. I do have my parallax effect on, but the wallpaper does not zoom in anymore. It's a neat new feature that might be handy. Now, another few changes to the iOS 7 is the iOS 7 keyboard. The iOS 7.1, the keyboard is now much more darker than it was on iOS 7.0.6. That results in making the buttons pop out of the screen and are much more easier to use. That's definitely a plus for me. Still a very responsive keyboard, nothing's changed. Now the animations have been made much faster throughout the iOS 7 applications. Like the bouncy effect is much more smoother on iPhone 5. The animations are much more fluent. Everything is much more faster than it was before. The notification center is now not much laggy as it was on my iPhone before. Now the notification center brings back the stocks and the tomorrow summary. The tomorrow summary is now new, but the stocks was there before in iOS 6, which now can be put onto the notification center. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe if you like us.